I hope I don't laugh like that in the podcast. Yikes. I hate that laugh. That's like my least favorite of all of my laughs.
Oh, really? Well, we're rolling, so.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. What is up, everybody? This is Aaron Haas. This is the Love Works podcast. This is a good episode. I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode. This is a good one. We've got a great guest here, a fun guest, a guest that I know well, a guest that I don't know super well in all of the arenas of life, but I know her pretty well. She is a business owner. She cuts of the hair. She sells of the books. She's got tattoos. She currently has shoes on that have green soles, so that narrows it down to a few people in this world. And she's got a lot of animals in her house right now. She goes by the name of Ashton Ainsworth. Did I even say your last name right? I don't even know if I did. That just shows what I know. Ashton, yeah, you oh man, I missed my opportunity. I was gonna have like a really cool intro where I was like my former sister-in-law, but I missed it. She is my former sister-in-law though.
I think you still nailed it.
Thank you. I'm glad I nailed it enough. Glad I nailed it enough. Ashton, tell the world about yourself some.
Oof, where do I start?
I don't even know what like people that are listening right now, they don't even know. You're a business owner.
Yes.
So you cut hair, which by the way, I needed you a few weeks ago. Like, I needed you for 2 times, actually. One before I made the biggest mistake of my life, and 2 right after. But, hey.
It was a pretty bad haircut. It was worse than when you did it yourself. So
Right. Well, I don't think I did too bad of
No, you didn't.
myself. But,
that's why it's sad that a hairstylist did you worse than you did yourself.
That is true.
You know.
That is true. How long you been cutting hair for?
10 years now.
10 years.
That ages me a little.
It does. You're like, what? You're pushing 45
hey,
now?
hey. Watch it. 30.
30.
You know,
okay.
I'm in my prime.
Yeah.
So they say.
Yeah, 30s.
You know.
So you're about to be 30, right?
No, I am 30. I turned 30 in October.
Dang.
Yep.
Man, dude, so yeah, have you planned out like what your tombstone might look like?
You know what? Maybe this was a bad idea coming on the podcast. I didn't know I was going to get roasted the whole time.
Yeah, you're just going to get roasted. That's the whole plan. That's the whole plan. Yeah, you cut hair. You're what do you call yourself? A stylist, a salonist?
I did get called a hair salonist one time, and I was like, that's a new one. I haven't heard that before.
Hey,
but no, hairstylist, stylist, you know.
Okay.
Hairstylist is usually better because it, you know, if you're just a stylist, people are like, well, what do you style? Do you style houses? You know, hair, clothes. Yeah. So hairstylist narrows it down a little bit.
Well, without like a hairstylist, like styling houses isn't even like you're not even a cool stylist of a house. Because you don't have the personal style.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm really reaching. I'm reaching.
A little bit. I didn't know where you were going.
But let's get there. Yeah, so you also have a lot of animals.
Yeah. We might hear one beating on the door during the podcast. You know, Aaron's got a cat next to him. He loves cats.
I do. Did you? So this is something that I wanted to wait till the podcast. Did you know I'm allergic to cats?
No.
I'm allergic.
Oh, well, you're gonna die because I have 3. So
yeah, so I'm like gonna be doing like the whole episode.
There's some Kleenex over there on the table.
It's all right. It's all right. No, this was good. The sacrifice is worth it. So you cut hair. You've been doing that for 10 years.
Yep.
Out of your 10 years of being a hair salonist, what is something you've been able to pull away just for your own good?
Dang, going deep there. I don't know. I think one of my favorite things about being behind the chair is that I feel like the Lord put me there to like that be my mission field. Because I go on short-term missions, but you know we all have a long-term mission field, you know, wherever we're at. So I feel like that's kind of where the Lord put me because it's great because people get stuck in my chair, so they have to hear about my life or you know what I'm interested in, which always, you know, the Lord always is in conversation somewhere.
Love it.
So, people are in my chair anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 3 hours. So if you're stuck in my chair for 3 hours, you're going to hear about Jesus at some point. So I feel like
That's good.
that's where he's placed me. And that's been like a good in for people because like
Mm.
even going on my short-term mission trips, it gives like people ask me to share the gospel with them basically
Wow.
because unbelievers will sit down and they're like, okay, so you travel all the time, where were you at this time? And I'm like, Zambia. And they're like, Zambia?
Yes,
like
what are you
of
doing
all the
in
places to
Zambia?
go, are you on vacation? I'm like, no, actually I go on mission trips. And they're like, oh, well, tell me about that. So I get to like share the gospel with unbelievers and they're asking me to do that.
Wow.
So that's been one of the coolest things. So my short-term missions fuel my long-term mission, which is neat.
That is neat. That's super cool. Wow. Like, so tell me a little bit about your missions. And so right now you're actually raising money to go back to Africa, right?
Correct.
What part of Africa?
Zambia.
So you're going back to Zambia.
Yep.
Like, why do you keep going back?
The people.
The people.
Yeah.
What do you feel like people can learn about the different cultures and different countries and why they should travel as missionaries or even also just as human beings?
I think it pulls you out of your context because we get comfortable where we're at.
Right.
Even like I know people who have never left the South before. Like they've never been on an airplane. Like they've never even been a state over. So all they know is, their small world, and the world is so much bigger than just, your neighborhood or
Wow.
or your state. So going to another context, especially another country, gives you another perspective of how other people live. Because I know every time I come home from Zambia, I'm just like, I want to get rid of everything in my house because I'm like, man, I have a whole house full of stuff, and like, what's the point? Because like they have so much more, like, spiritually and everything, but so much less physically. So it's just like when people say you have a culture shock coming home from a mission trip more than going there, that is the absolute truth. Because you would
Wow.
think you would have culture shock going there because they have so much less, because you're functioning on so much less. But like, I mean, when we go over there, I pack in a carry-on and a backpack for 2 weeks. That's
Wow.
all I take. And
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm there, I'm just like, what the heck do I do at home? Like, why am I so dang busy? Because everything's so slow there.
Yeah.
So it just like when we say, hey, I'm going to meet you at 12 o'clock. Like, if you're 12:05, somebody's like, hey, you're late. Like, where are you at? Like,
Right.
you only give them 5 minutes grace. In Zambia, if they say, hey, we're leaving at 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock means the 12 o'clock hour. So, like, if we leave at 12:55, we're still on time because it's the 12 o'clock hour. So, like, African time is way different than American time. Like, we are so impatient here, and there it's just like, go with the flow, just whenever everybody's ready.
I would love to be able to walk in places and just be late and not, and be like, I still came. It's like 12:55. I'm here,
Like here, we're like, oh, we're going to spend a day in town. Like, we're going to go out to eat and,
Right.
go to the store or whatever. That may take, a couple hours, 3 hours. In Zambia, it takes all day because the restaurants, like, you'll wait 2 hours before you get served your food. Well, in America, that's like you get a bad review, you're talking to the manager, I'm leaving without paying kind of thing. But in Zambia, that's
crazy.
like, it's just how it is. So you just plan accordingly. Sometimes we take snacks to snack at the table while we're waiting on dinner.
Wow.
So it's just, I think it gives you a whole nother perspective coming home because you treat, gosh, I'm losing the word, service industry workers different,
I believe
here
it.
after experiencing that. Or, we buy clothes just because we're walking through Walmart and are like, oh, that's cute, let me just throw that in my basket.
Right.
But like there, it's not like that. Like, they just don't have much, so they have to think about what they're buying. And here we're just like, oh, probably shouldn't buy this, but I'm gonna buy it anyway because I'm gonna
Right.
give myself a little treat.
Right.
That's what everybody's like. Oh, well, I did good about eating how I was supposed to this week, so I'm gonna get me a little treat. And it's
Yeah.
like, it doesn't always work that way.
That is super interesting to me too, because I'm sure we get so numbed to just the culture we're in,
Oh,
and
for
we
sure.
think that even when we're in such a high privilege, we really, or what we think we're not in such a high privilege, we actually have this just like deep privilege right in our fingertips. And So yeah, what would you say to somebody that is contemplating maybe traveling or going to a different country? Like if they're right on the cuff, like, man, it's financially a struggle. This is something that I've wanted to do, but I'm like, is it going to set me back? Like, what would you tell them?
Do the dang thing.
Do the dang thing.
Because people are always worried about, oh, well, I don't know if I have enough money. And it's like, you know what? You do. You can do it. You can make it work. Because, like, if you tell people you're going on a mission trip, like, they want to help you fundraise.
Yeah.
Because some people aren't going to go. And so they send you. Like, I went to a conference years ago and they talked about goers and senders. Not everybody's supposed to be a goer.
I went to that conference with you.
Oh, you did. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, but they talk about that. So it's like some people are not supposed to go and some people are supposed to, help send, and sending doesn't always mean financially. Sometimes it means prayerfully.
Wow.
But yesterday, I'm a little exhausted today still because yesterday I'm doing a fundraiser, kind of Valentine's theme for my trip, and I was selling chocolate covered strawberries and Oreo balls, and I think I dipped about 400 strawberries yesterday and close to 200 Oreo balls. And I sorely underestimated how long it was going to take me. It took me like 10 hours. I thought it was going to take me like 4 or 5, and it took me like 10. I finished at like 11:30 last night.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want to do that.
Strawberries were easy. That was the easy part. I'd do that again.
Okay.
Anytime. But the Oreo balls, they take longer and more steps. And I was
because you're like crumbling them up too.
Yeah, you got to crush them. You got to add the cream cheese. You got to freeze them so that they'll dip well. Then you have to dip them, wait for them to dry, and then put some drizzle on there, make them pretty, and then package them. And it was a lot. But things like that, because people think like they hear this goal of $3,500, like because that's about how much it costs to go to Zambia.
Right.
And they hear that and they're like, gosh, that's a huge number. I could never, save that much. But you can. Yeah. Because with stuff like that, like people want chocolate covered strawberries and Oreo balls. And if they're cheaper than where you get them elsewhere, then they're going to buy them, and they're going to buy a lot of them.
And they're wanting to support what you're doing. Yeah. They enjoy the product, and the product's probably going to be better because it's homemade and they're not making it in some factory.
Well, and I did it, for Valentine's Day, so now they've got a taste of it. So Mother's Day, I'm gonna do strawberries again.
On, man. Mother's Day, these mothers about to
anybody listening that's around Hernando, like hit me up. I'm gonna do some strawberries.
Come on, I love that. So, so you primarily go to Africa, correct or incorrect?
Yeah.
All right, so you primarily go to Africa. What other places have you been to?
I've been to a lot. Like on mission or just in general?
Let's hear about the places outside of the U.S. you've been to. All of them.
Oh, I've been to Russia. I've been to England, Italy, France. I've been to like the Bahamas and Mexico and like all those kind of places for cruises and stuff.
Hey, man, the cruises are the most like secret thing you can do.
But I tell you what, I went to Jamaica on a cruise, and that was the hardest place for me to be because I'd been to Jamaica on a mission trip before. And so going on an excursion was really hard. Actually, one of the guys that was leading our like little horse tour that we were going on, we were talking, and he'd asked if anybody had been to Jamaica before, and I told him yes, and he was like, "Oh, have you been here?" And I was like, "No." And I told him what city I'd been to, and he was like, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "No." He's like, that's where I live, and which was like 3 hours away, but there's no work for them there. So he lives in another city, like 3 hours away from his family, so that he can, make a living. And then he goes and visits his family once a month on a short weekend because there's just no work there. And so I asked him if he'd heard of the Little Blue House Project, because that's what our church, partners with and does. And he was like, yes. And I said, I've been there. I've built those houses. And so it was cool to get to talk to him, but it was also really hard for me to talk to him because here I am paying hundreds of dollars to ride a horse through water, and this is what's paying, his salary, which is great, but also it's like, I know where you live. I've seen it, and it's like,
and you're hurting, and there's like,
and so it's like everything in me didn't want to be there, for vacation, because I knew what it looked like, because they show you the pretty parts of Jamaica, which is very few, and like Jamaica was one of the only countries that didn't close during COVID because they're only like their economy is based on tourism because there's like nothing else. So
it's super interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's wild. So like being on mission in a place and then going there for vacation is
it's gonna be tough.
It was real hard. There were several times that I was trying hard not to cry because I'm like, I know where you're from because I've seen it. I've seen his neighborhood, and
Yeah.
like it's dangerous. You don't go there. Like they always told us when the music starts playing in the evenings, uh, we have to pack up and go because when the music starts playing is when the men like wake up and start doing horrible things, and
Wow.
nighttime is awful and dangerous, and
This is in Jamaica.
yeah. So
Wow. That is heartbreaking. Okay, so you've been to there on cruises. Anywhere else?
Probably. My brain is blanking. Oh, I've been to Germany. I went to Germany recently back in October.
Did you like Germany?
Yeah, I loved it. I'd love to go back.
Apparently, I've got family there. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean,
I had family there.
Did
They're
they
Americans, but no, they moved back.
Oh, okay. I was just like, oh, cool. They
No,
died.
no, they moved back. They moved back.
Okay,
so my cousin, he lived there. He was working there for 3 years, and I helped him move back.
Does he speak German?
A little bit,
Okay.
not like fluently, but enough to get by.
Apparently, like I've got family that moved there, and they that lived there, and apparently, like they moved. Some of my family moved here or something, and now we just started in America. I don't know. So somehow I'm German in some way, but I don't know if I believe it. It sounds like one of those lies your family just tells you to make you feel like you're somewhat cool.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm probably just like purebred American. I don't even know what that means.
Mutt.
Yeah, I'm just a mutt. I'm just a mutt of American people. But yeah, so all right, so you do mission. So what's a story that you like? If you could tell everybody in the world this story and they were to hear it, what's that story? From your missions, like
yeah. I think one that I always go back to because people are like, what made you go to Zambia in the first place? And honestly, the reason that I went the first time was very selfish. My friends were going; they talked about how cool it was, and I was like, I want to go. That sounds fun.
Vacation.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I knew it wasn't vacation, but I was sorely unprepared for what was going to happen because the Lord obviously wants us to be obedient, but sometimes he uses our disobedience to humble us.
Come on.
And so I feel like I wasn't necessarily being disobedient going on this trip, but I wasn't prayerfully seeking the Lord in that I should go on this trip. And so I actually went to Jamaica and Zambia in the same summer for the first time. And both of the trips were definitely selfish reasons. But I go to Zambia, and when you go for the first time, you're really just observing. You don't really know what's going on. You don't know the schedule because it's very loose. Like I said, Zambian time is all over the place. But I was just there, just observing, seeing what I could do. Like I'm not one of those usually to be like out front and like, leading things or leading a, devotional or the kids stuff that they do. I'm not going to be one of those. I'm going to be one of those sitting with the kids, like interacting with them, like, background kind of stuff. Like even this podcast is like outside of my normal realm. But I remember I was sitting in church. We were there for 2 Sundays. And the first Sunday I sat through church, like the adult service and everything. And then the second Sunday I was debating on whether I was going to go to children's church or not. And I was just like, I don't know if I should go. Maybe I should just stay sitting here because I just get uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't know what my place is. I don't know if I'll draw attention, going to kids' church or if I should just stay where I'm at. Like I didn't really know. And one of these kids, him and I had kind of interacted a little bit. He was young, probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time. And he just pointed at me across the room and then, did his finger for me to follow him. And I was like, all right, I'm going to kids' church.
No. I'd be like, no, you're not going to tell me to go to kids' church.
No. I definitely was like, you're telling me to come? All right, I'm coming. Yeah. So I went with him, and he sat next to me, and like just like white skin. They love our white skin because it's also softer than theirs.
Oh, this is all in Zambia.
Yeah.
I
this
thought
is
you
in
were
Zambia.
Talking about regular.
No.
Okay,
no, this is in Zambia. Yeah.
And
you told me to tell you a story about missions.
I thought you were giving me like a preface to like, like they were telling me to come to church. And
no. I'm in church in Zambia. Sorry.
Okay.
But like the kids sitting next to me, they'll just like pet your skin. because it's soft and it's a different color than theirs. And like one of the little girls was running her fingers through my hair, and some of my hair, white people, we shed, so some of my hair came off in her hand, and it was like a prized possession. So then the other kids are trying to pull my hair out because they wanted a piece too, and I was like, no, please don't pull my hair
I'm
out.
gonna have like a bald spot.
Yeah, right, because all the Zambian children want a piece of my hair.
Wow.
But anyway, so he sat next to me, and the rest of the trip, like anytime I was, anywhere, he would pull me in to play with him and, show me his friends. Like a couple years later, he showed me, when I went back, he showed me like his house where he lived with his house parents and like other kids. Because where we go visit, it's like, it's technically a children's home. So they don't adopt out. They raise the kids in Zambia and put them all the way through school and college and everything, which is unusual in Zambia because public school stops at grade 7. So most adults in Zambia have an education through 7th grade.
Wow.
So they have sponsorships for kids, which is way more expensive than a normal sponsorship through like Compassion, because Compassion is great, but they have families and they're not providing for their every need. Whereas the kids in Zambia, they're providing for their every need. So it's a little more expensive, but you sponsor them all the way through college. So they go through college, and so they're trying to train the kids to, make Zambia better, because if you just adopt out the best and brightest, then the country never gets better. So that's kind of their goal. So the kids, they live in houses with house parents and stuff like that. But this one kid just picked me out of the rest of the team, and they see teams all summer, so sometimes they don't get attached to the teams because they know we're going to leave. And so sometimes that's hard for us because like we want to get attached to them. But the more you go, the more attached they get because they realize, oh, hey, she's coming back next year.
Because she still loves me.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not leaving you.
Yeah.
I care about you. We want to make a difference
Yeah,
in
right.
this world.
Yeah.
I love that.
So he just picked me out always, and then every trip since, he would always pick me out. And I just remember thinking that first trip, it's like, okay, I came here to make a difference in these people. I came here to do something for them because, I'm all that great or whatever. And it's like, I came to do that. But here this kid is making me feel comfortable, giving me a place to be. And it's like, he's the one that was like, on mission because he was making me feel comfortable. He was pulling me into his context. He was introducing me to his friends, showing me his house. And it was just like, man, like they tell you a lot of times on mission trips, anybody that goes, like, they're going to make more of a difference in your life than you're going to in theirs. And that's absolutely true. Because we think we're all that great. We're going to, go do whatever for them. But they make way more of a difference in our lives. I feel like than we do because, we're only there for a week and then we're gone. So, the people that are on mission on the ground there are the ones that make the difference because they're there year round.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
Yeah, that kid made a difference in my life, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
That's beautiful. If you have a heart for missions or are maybe even contemplating even going on just a simple 2-week or 1-week mission trip somewhere in America, like you're going to be humbled. Your heart's going to be transformed. Your relationship with God will be transformed. And also you're able to even make a tiny little imprint that sets the scene for the next to come in whatever you're doing. So maybe it's something to even contemplate if that's something that you're thinking about doing.
Do the dang thing.
Do the dang thing. I love that. So you're really big on missions. You're really big on loving people. You serve at a church here in Mississippi, and you are really passionate about having people in your home, loving people in your home. What does that even look like for you? Because we were even talking beforehand, like you've got your kitchen set up in such a way where people can talk to you when you're in your kitchen. Me, when I'm in my kitchen, I wish there was like a barrier where I could shut everybody else down. Like, don't talk to me.
Get out of my kitchen. Don't talk to me. Just stay in the living room.
Yes.
Stay in your lane.
Don't look at my kitchen while I'm cooking because it's probably messy. You
know, sometimes I embrace the mess because, like, currently, I didn't say anything when you walked in, but I was going to be like, don't look at my floors because they're covered in mud because, dogs. But, yeah, so I don't know. I don't want my house to be gross, obviously, when people come in. Right. But I also embrace the mess because it's like if everything's perfectly in its place, like it doesn't look lived in. I want my
Yeah.
house to look lived in. I don't want it to be nasty. Like I want
Yeah.
people to come in and be like, "Oh, your house smells good." It's like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
But I also want it to be a place that's inviting. Like I've always wanted my home to be one that people came in and they felt comfortable immediately. Like catch themselves looking through my fridge and then be like, "Oh crap, I didn't even ask her if I could look through my fridge."
I love
But I
that.
want people to be that comfortable. Kick your shoes off. Like I
Yeah.
have my living room's huge, so I want lots of seating for lots of people.
Yeah.
And like you said, my kitchen, I had a kitchen table in there and never used the kitchen table and was
Yeah.
like, well, let's get rid of this. So I got rid of it and did a collage wall and put some seating in there and a little coffee table. And so now
Love
when
it.
I'm cooking and in the kitchen, when my friends are over, they come and sit in there while I'm cooking. So we're still like interacting. And it just
That's
like,
awesome.
it brings my heart joy to have people in my home.
Yeah.
Because I know growing up, there were houses that were like that for me where I just walked in the door like, and realized, crap, I never even knocked. I just walked in their house.
Yeah,
But
love that.
I want my house to be like that. I want people to just walk in like
Yeah.
and feel comfortable. Like I want people
good.
to know that the presence of the Lord is in my house
Come
just by how cozy it feels, like how everything's set up. Like there's purpose in how I do things.
I love that.
So that it feels like there's pictures of my friends and family all over my walls because I've gone into people's houses and obviously not bash anybody that does this, but it's like I don't want my house to look picture perfect. I don't want it to look Instagram worthy because it's like it doesn't look lived in. Like where are the people? Where are the ones? Because like
Yeah.
what makes a house a home is the people that are in it. And
Wow,
even
that's
though
real.
I'm the only one that lives here, it's like my people are on my walls. Like they live
Love
here.
that. I love that.
They pour into my life, and so I want a representation of that. When people walk in, they're like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my best friend," or "That's my ex-mother-in-law," and they're
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Yes, good. Yeah. So
it's great.
I love that though. You are super close to my mother. And like y'all's relationship is incredibly beautiful. Y'all go to CrossFit together,
Yeah.
and I went to CrossFit with y'all yesterday.
Yep.
And I'm still in recovery, by
Yep.
the way.
It's part of it when you're a newbie.
I know, dude. I kind of walked in like, all right, what's my mom talking about? I wasn't underestimating that it was tough. Like I believed her. I'm not like, you're a liar. This is not hard.
But yeah, bro, after the first round, you did the first round, you're like, okay, that's cool. And then I was on the bike again and you're supposed to be doing the power snatches and you're just staying there. I said, bro, Aaron, you're supposed to be doing that. And you're like, I already did that. I was like, yeah, we do that. And then we do it 7 more times. And you're like, what?
I know. I was like, this is ridiculous.
CrossFit is wild, man. If you haven't tried
is.
it, do it. It's amazing. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like a cult, and it for sure is. Like it's the
It is a
best
cult.
thing ever.
It is
But
a cult.
yeah, like you do your little set, and like something you would do at the gym, you do it like 2 or 3 times, and they're like, no, do it 8 times.
Yeah.
Or one of the workouts, they were like, all right, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do it 12 times. It was like 12. I looked at the trainer. I was like, isn't that excessive? And he was like,
Yeah.
nope. So like, all right.
It's not excessive.
So I
it's
did
just-
it.
Yeah.
But like when you're doing it yourself at your house or at the gym, you don't push yourself because you're like, okay, that was good. That was a good pump,
Yeah.
All right. But CrossFit, they're like, no, do that 8 more times, and then you'll feel like dying, and then you can go home. And it's
then
like,
you go home, yeah.
oh, okay.
The warm up was tough, man.
Yeah. After the warm up, sometimes I'm like, dang, I'm ready to go home, and then they're like, all right, now we're gonna crank it up to 1,000, and then we're gonna kill you, and then you can go home.
Yeah, when they had me doing those like the handstand things,
Literally, like we're doing handstand holds against the wall. So you do a
Yeah.
handstand, you're kind of leaning against the wall, and you hold it for like 20 seconds. Doesn't sound too difficult, but it is.
after
And
you've done a bunch of like, what are they,
I think we did
deadlifts or something like that, and then
the
bicycles.
power snatches. Yeah.
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 And I don't know what they're called. I'm calling them bicycles and deadlifts as if I know what it is I'm doing.
It's
but,
okay. It's a whole nother language.
It
Takes
is.
a minute.
but yeah, after I did that, I thought I was, that was bad.
Yeah, I think. What did we do it 5 times? I think we had 5 rounds of holding on the
30, I
wall
thought.
for
I
like,
thought it was like
yeah,
30.
it was a lot. But I think it was the 4th round. Aaron's up against the wall and he just starts screaming like a CrossFitter. CrossFitters yell in the gym all the time. I'm not to that point yet. This man starts screaming and yelling, and I literally fell off the wall because I was laughing so hard, like crumbled to the ground.
Yeah, I
Didn't
started,
make it the last like 7 seconds.
I started yelling time just so that we could be done.
Like I'm done.
I was like, all right, 3, 2, 1, we're done, everybody. I was pretending to be the CrossFit guy.
You'd be a great trainer.
It would be fun. I don't know if we'd ever get any more fit, but we would have fun.
We'd have fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd be like, all right, guys, we brought snacks today for
Yep.
everybody. We're going to watch a movie for CrossFit.
do some crunches while you're
Yeah.
watching the movie.
We might let's burn some calories by giving each other high fives.
Yep.
We're gonna do 25 fives and then we're gonna rest. Then we're
Yep.
down 30.
I always heard laughing is like an ab workout, but I think it's a lie. I think it's a lie.
Yeah.
I don't know who started it, but it's definitely a lie because I'd have like an 8-pack by now because I laugh all the time and it's just I have a 1-pack. It's
Yeah,
I do have a 6-pack. It's just covered by a layer of protection.
a layer of protection. Yes, exactly. I used to be in shape, and then
Then you go to CrossFit and you're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
just kidding.
yeah. Well, I just decided that I wanted to actually enjoy life a little bit. And
See, if you ask me if I like CrossFit when I'm not in class, I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's the best thing ever. Like
Yeah.
they do the workout for you. Like you don't have to come up with something to do. They tell you what you're doing, you do it. Like it's fun and everything. And then when I'm in a workout, like I usually will say I'm quitting and not coming back most workouts, and then they always laugh at me because they know I'm coming back.
yeah, I was in there really contemplating. I was like, I know, I don't want to have to deal with this as soon as I leave, because I was like, my back's
But the
gonna
trick
hurt.
is you keep moving. Because, when you work out and then it's like that second or third day pain that sits in and you're like, oh my gosh, this is death. But if you keep going to classes, then it gets better. That third day, you're like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad anymore.
Yeah,
you
but
got to keep your muscles loose.
I don't want to keep going though. I don't want to do that. It wasn't fun the first time. So
You had fun. You laughed.
I did laugh. I laughed because I was about to cry. That's what I was doing.
sometimes it's okay to cry.
Yeah. So
sometimes when people do their first workout class, I haven't seen this happen yet, but some of the trainers have told me, people come in for their first class and they'll throw up after their first class, and it's like, oh, I don't know that I would come back after that.
Oh yeah,
but they do. They come back. It's a cult. I'm telling you, you get hooked.
Yeah,
After a week, you're in.
Yeah, I thought I was. Because I eat gummies and what else did I eat? Maybe a fruit roll up for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad choice.
And then went in
Gotta
and
get
an
that
energy
protein.
drink. I drank an energy drink.
Yep.
So
I'm surprised you didn't throw up. I would have thrown up.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Don't do it, Aaron. Like,
Don't
you
embarrass
want it."
yourself.
Yeah. So I convinced myself not to. So you cut hair, but you also own a business, and it's you like I don't even know what it's a book business. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a bookstore. So
A book business. I'm like, yeah, it's a bookstore, but I'm calling it a book business. Shows how much I read.
Yeah.
What is this
Yikes.
book business?
What is this book business? Yeah, it's a bookstore. So I love to read, have always loved to read. My parents kind of instilled that in me. Both of my parents read. My dad's an author. Check him out. Al Ainsworth, A. Ainsworth on Amazon.
Come on. Yeah.
Shameless hook there.
Dude, give it to him. Give it to him.
But yeah, so I've always loved that, and like I always kind of thought about having a bookstore. Never really like actually thought I was going to do it. Just like one of those things, you'd be like, oh, it'd be cool if I owned a bookstore one day. And so your mom and I were on the way to the gym one day, and before we were going to CrossFit, and we were walking, in the little shopping center, and there was a space that had been vacated recently, and I just kind of like peeked my head in, and I was like, oh, that's a cool space. And she's like, for what? You trying to open a business? I was like, no, not actually. I said, it's just a dream. I'm never actually going to do it. And she was like, well, what is it? And I say, well, I think it'd be cool to have a bookstore, in Hernando, because we don't, DeSoto County only has one bookstore. So I was like, and it's Books A Million. So I was like, used bookstores, I don't know. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you like to smell the fingers of the other people that read the books.
The smell of the fingers.
Yeah, because they're flipping through the pages. It's like, this person definitely, this is like an older person.
That's gross.
Like they're like an older person. You can kind of smell the perfume because every old lady's
yeah,
got the
you
same
can
perfume.
you can smell perfume. I don't know about the fingers. That
Or
sounds
the
a little
lotion.
like serial killer-esque, but
Then I didn't say it. Forget I said it.
it's out there for everyone to hear now.
I know. Everybody there's just some people's got cool fingers, some people don't. It's just a thing. So maybe you get a good book, maybe you don't.
Yikes. Maybe let's move away from fingers now,
ears. We got good ears just on audiobooks.
Yeah,
I like to hear
good
what
on
other
a
people's
good drive.
audiobooks were.
Yeah. But,
Anyway, keep going.
but yeah, anyway, she was like, well, why don't you put it in my cheesecake store? And I was like,
Yeah.
Are you just saying that, or are you being for real? Because sometimes she just be saying stuff, and
She does.
I'm like, are you for real, or are you just saying something? She goes, no, I'm 100% for real. You should definitely do it. I have a front room. We've been trying to figure out what to do with it, and it just stays empty, and nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Do it. And so I posted on Facebook that day and was like, hey, anybody got any books they want to get rid of? This is what I'm doing. And oh my gosh, I probably got over 3,000 books within like the first month of asking. Like people were sharing the post and I was getting books like crazy. Like my garage right now probably has like 60 boxes of books.
Wow.
Because there's no storage there. So the storage becomes my garage.
I love that.
So,
and you sell your dad's books there too, right?
I do sell my dad's books there.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
his are the only new books that I keep on the shelf there
cool.
under the local author section.
Love that.
People love that. We've had book signings there and stuff, and
Super
there's one dude that came in and he was just kind of looking at the book on the front shelf, and I said, hey, we got the author in today, and he picks up the book and he goes, oh, I want to buy it. I want it signed by the author. He didn't even know what the dang book was about, but he was like, I want a book signed by an author, so he bought it, right then.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
cool.
yeah, it's a sweet little business, but it a lot of times they always say don't give up in the first year because the first year is always the worst, and I definitely feel that it's definitely been the worst.
Yeah.
But it's also great because it makes people happy and all of that, and so we're trying to do some different marketing things, changing the name and all of that this year to help with marketing and all that. So hopefully, the next year will be a little bit better. It won't drain all my personal money, but
yeah, it's like, man,
because people are like, dang, you're just rolling in the money doing hair and books. And I'm like, no, the bookstore. I'm like not making anything from the bookstore yet. It was like, I'm putting money into it right now, but it's going. And hopefully like once more people know that it's there, cause it's still like unknown, right now, that it'll do a little better. But I enjoy doing it. I love books and I love being in a space filled with books. It's just fun.
I get that. That's super cool. I get the understanding of spending more than what you're pulling in, especially first year. I'm in the same spot here. I have spent more money than I'm proud to put on a piece of paper, but it's fun to watch it grow, even after you spent all the money and you see like that one purchase and you're like, okay, good, we're making a move. We're at least taking our step forward. So that is exciting. I'm excited for you. I think you're super talented. I think that you as a person are super gifted, and I think you're going to do things bigger than you ever imagined. What's something that you want the world to know about Ashton Ainsworth?
Yikes! I don't know.
Yeah. So you've been in a couple relationships in the past.
Yeah.
What are some things you've learned from those relationships? The good, the bad, the ugly, the great, this is something that I want the world to know about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing that I always tell people, especially young people when they're dating, because like I did not do dating right in my 20s at all. So, now that I'm not married anymore, going forward in dating, I want to be a whole lot more intentional. And the poor sucker that tries to date me next is going to have to go through an intense vetting process.
Yeah, they're going to have to sign some documents.
Hey. he got a list of people to go through to have conversations with. Because a lot of times didn't listen to my friends and my family. Because like there were a couple guys I dated that they're great guys, still are. One of them that I dated, he's still a great friend. The Lord has completely redeemed that relationship, and his wife is, one of my close people, and she even gave me flowers for Valentine's Day, and like super cool. So it's like the Lord completely redeemed that, and it's the coolest thing ever. So it's like I dated some great guys, but I wasn't seeking the Lord when I was going into those relationships, because I wanted to be wanted. Everybody
Wow.
wants to be wanted.
Yeah.
And but my identity was in somebody else. My identity was in what other people thought of me, and not just boyfriends, but even friendships. I would dive headfirst into a friendship because we connected on a couple things. So I'd share my whole life with them, and then stab me in the back by using my past against me and stuff. And it's like, okay, I probably shouldn't have shared that much with them that early on because I didn't know what kind of person they were. And so, like, even friendships, I've learned to be careful. Not that you don't trust people, but be slow in getting to know somebody, because sometimes you realize, like, you connect, really well the first time you hang out with somebody, but then, their character shows later, and sometimes their character is great and they become one of the closest people to you, but then other times you're like, okay, you're a really unstable person, and I didn't see
Yeah.
that the first couple times. Like, it takes more depth, it takes more time, and I didn't take time for things. Even like dating and friendship, I never took time. Like, I was always too fast, because it's like, oh, if I don't act on this right now, then they're not going to be friends with me anymore, they're not going to want to date me anymore, I'm going to lose a friend, or
Yeah.
whatever. So I was too fast all the time. I
Wow.
never slowed down. And my parents always told me, slow down. And they tried, but, you think your parents are dumb, and they're not. They've lived a lot of life.
That's the truth.
And my parents never told me I told you so, but they told me so.
Oh, my
There
parents
were
have.
so many times I'd come back to them and I'd be like, I'm sorry, you were right. And they'll never say, yeah, I know I was. But, like, they know it, I know it. And
sign this piece of paper so we can hang it
yeah,
on the fridge.
yeah. So everybody knows that I was right.
Yeah.
But no, they've always been, gracious about that, because I definitely have been an idiot. But yeah, just take it slow and listen to your friends and family, because I got into an abusive relationship because I was being stupid. Like, I wanted to be wanted, and he knew that, and he became everything I wanted. And so then I was enticed, because that's exactly what the devil does to us. He
Wow.
presents himself as everything you ever wanted, even if he's not that. And then you get entangled to a degree where you're like, oh, I don't feel like I can leave, because there were threats made and stuff like that, because people were like, why didn't you just leave? And it's like, I always used to look at people like that when they were in an abusive relationship. It's like, why don't you just leave? It's that simple. But when you're in it, when you're in it, it's a whole different ball game. Like, even now, I'm like, I don't know why I stayed. I can't really give you a black and white answer. There are lots of gray areas in life. And I can tend to be a black and white person, but there are definitely gray areas, and that was one of them. And it was just like, I can't tell you, why I stayed, and like, I hated it the whole time. There were times I'd be hoarse by the time I got home, because I was screaming at God to get me out, because I knew He could, and I knew I couldn't. And He did one day. There was a day that He gave me an out, and I took it, and I never looked back.
Wow.
And like, that has been one of the biggest shaping things to my spiritual walk, because I gave my life to the Lord when I was 13, but I had never really gone through life knowing what it felt like to be apart from God, because I grew up in the church. We were at the church anytime there was an event. We were serving. Like, I was with my parents. I was always serving, hanging out with, the other kids that were doing that too. Like, I was always there, always at every D-Now and camp and, anything. I was always there, grew up in church, knew the right things. So, like, when I gave my life to the Lord, Mom was a little skeptical, and she was like, you sure you know what you're doing? And she would quote a verse, and I'd finish it for her, and I was like, no, I know. Like, it's like the lights were off and they got turned on. It was that simple, for me. So I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I gave my life to the Lord when I was 13, but I didn't truly start following the Lord till I was 25, after that abusive dating relationship. And when I got out, it was like, okay, now I know what it's like to be apart from the Lord, to be in darkness, even like, because I didn't choose that, but my choices led me to be in a position of that, because, like, I didn't choose to be abused. I didn't ask for it. I didn't know that was going to happen. But, like, my friends and family were like, hey, something's off here. Maybe you should back off, or maybe you should get counseling or whatever. And I was like, no, you don't know him like I know him. And that's always the classic line, because, they can manipulate one-on-one good, but, like, they're not going to fool everybody. And so it was just like, that's when I knew what it was like to be away from the Lord. Now, the Lord never left me. Like, I let go of Him, but He never let go of me. There's even times looking back that I know He was present, during those moments. And, even after, like, I mean, I screamed at him often to get me out. And he did. He presented me a way out finally. And I took it. And I knew that was it. I knew I couldn't look back. And I never did, because I knew what it was like to be away from God. So it's like, people who go through darkness, it's like, I know what it's like to be in darkness, but I know what it's like to see the light at the end of the tunnel too.
Wow.
And the light was Jesus always.
Come
I
on.
just, my own choices had separated me, from him for a time. But once you've given your life to Christ, like, he didn't let go of you. Like, even though I had strayed, for a time, he woke me up. And like, he doesn't put us in positions like that. He didn't cause that to happen. God doesn't cause bad things to happen
Right.
because he's good. That's apart from his character. But he allows those things in our life because, like, if we want to do something, he gives us over to our own sin. It talks about that in the Bible. Like, if that's what they want, give them over to it, and either they stay there or they come back. And I did come back. It took some time, but he gave me over to my sin, and I lived in it, for a little while. And then when I was like, God, you got to get me out, he did. He provides a way out, for those who want it. And he gave me a lifeline. and I took it, and I never looked back. Not to say that I haven't made any mistakes since, because I've 100% made mistakes. I am a fallible person, and I am, gosh, there's so many people that I like want to apologize to, because it's like, I know I was an idiot, and I'm so sorry, that I was that way. But there's grace in that, and the Lord gives us grace where grace is needed, and I need a lot of it every day. But
that same ditto.
Yeah. So yeah, just, and because, like, your friends and family that are following the Lord, they want to see you prosper. They want to see you do well. The Lord wants to see you do well. But he allows bad things to happen in our lives to show us what it's like to be away from him. And so now I know what darkness looks like because I've lived it, but I know what it's like to taste the light. And it's like, I don't ever want to go back. Like, I don't ever want to make those mistakes again. That's why I have accountability in place, and, friends and family that will vet the next guy I date,
Come on.
so then I'm not stupid again. And because, like, when we're in it, we've got rose-colored glasses on. Everything is like all lovey-dovey. It's like, oh my gosh, they're perfect. They could do no wrong. But
you don't see the knife that's in their pocket.
Exactly. But your friend who's standing to the side and not, head on, they're like, oh, hey, there's danger right there, and you don't see it. I don't want to listen to that now, because when I dated in my 20s, I didn't listen to good counsel. And this time I want to, because, like, I don't want to live through that again. I don't want to be stupid, like, and sometimes things just happen, but it's like, I want to be proactive in that, and, like, be picky, because I guess that's the biggest thing I can tell somebody who is, like, wanting to date, wanting to be married, but is, stuck in a sometimes the rut of singleness. But singleness is really a blessing. I remember thinking at one point, it's like, man, I did not use my singleness well, because singleness is a gift, because you're free from asking a spouse, like, hey, can I do this? Can I go on this? Or going on a mission trip. It's like, making sure it's okay with finances and all of that. And being single, you're in charge of that. And so it's easier to go and do. And I mean, Paul talks about singleness is a gift, and it really is, but you don't see it when you're single. But like, since I've been married, and then looking back, it's like, man, I really wasted my singleness. And so now that I have the chance to do that again, I don't want to squander that gift by just wanting a relationship again. And I do want a relationship. I do want to be married one day, but I want to do it in the Lord's timing and not my own. And dating in my 20s was always about me and my timing, and not seeking the Lord. And now I'm like, you know what, God, if I'm single the rest of my life, so be it. I'll do my best to use it well.
You get to go to Zambia a whole lot more times. You get to do all this stuff. And that's awesome. I think that that's super beautiful. And I think that when you do, or if you do end up finding yourself in a relationship again in the future, that's going to be such a raw relationship. All of the things from the past are going to be brought up, and you're going to be like, listen, we're going to put it all up front. We're going to be
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. And then you're going to find that 10 years down the road, you're in such a great spot because of that. Any closing thoughts for this episode?
I don't know. Do the dang thing.
Do the dang thing. I love that. I love that. Yo,
Only when it's according to the Lord's will, of course.
come on. I love it. I love it.
Not in your own timing.
Not in your own time, and listen to counsel. Ashton, thank you so much for coming on this episode. This has been a lot of fun for me. I've got to go take some Benadryl now because of your cats. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited about what's coming up. This is the Love Works podcast. This was a good episode. Thank you for listening to Ashton and I, and potentially some dogs scratching on the back of the door as well. Yo,
Yeah, sorry about that.
no, it's all good. I love it. I love animals, some of them, but not yours. So it's good.
Yikes.
No, this is great. Peace out.